Hello, everyone. Today, our first conversation with American artist Lee Beeferman. How are you, Lee?
Good. It's
Hi.
actually it's actually Leah.
Leah.
Yes,
Sorry.
but that's okay. But yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Mhm. I'm okay, thank you. Okay. Tell us a little about yourself and your activity, artist and teacher.
Okay. So I was born in Massachusetts, and I live in Providence, Rhode Island. I lived in New York for a long time, and I've been working as an artist for a long time. I finished grad school in 2010 and have been working pretty consistently since then, but also a little bit before that as well. And I've been teaching mostly in Providence, but a few other places before that for the last 6 or 7 years now. Um, so
Okay.
yeah, it's been longer than it feels, actually.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
very long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you wanted to become an artist since childhood? When did you realize it? When do you decide on your profession?
um, well, I always was making art as a kid. Um, I took art classes my whole childhood and was always drawing and doing projects. But I never thought I wanted to be an artist um, until after I finished college, even though I was studying art in college. But I thought I wanted to be a graphic designer. And then I I graduated, and right around the time that I graduated, I realized actually I want to be an artist because I just have my own things that I wanna explore. Um, so yeah, so I took a couple of years off from school and just worked on my work and lived in New York, and then applied to go to get a master's. Um, and I guess it was, yeah, sometime around then that I really kind of was sure that this was the thing I wanted to focus on. Um, and of course, it's very difficult to actually make a living as an artist in the US. Um, so yeah, even though it's the way I define myself, it's also not the way that I usually make money. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay, okay, thank you. Who or what has influenced your art?
um, I would say a lot of things influenced me. Uh, my parents always we saw a lot of art when I was a kid. There was always art and music around when I was young, so I was always interested in it. And I think the kinds of art that they liked, a lot of modern painting and expressionist painting and um, photography. I think that had an influence on me sort of early on. But then I was also, as a kid, interested in other stuff like cartoons and whatever. So then later on, when I talk about my work now, the things that really influenced me, I mean, it's always evolving, but certain writers influenced me a lot. Certain artists influenced me a lot. But then also, starting in 2012, I started going on different artist residencies and traveling to different places, and
Mhm.
that influenced me a lot, and my interest in science also a lot. So yeah, all these things have kind of, I it's like they layer on top of each other. So there's one thing and the
Mm.
next thing comes in and they add to each other, and then the next comes in and they add to each other. Um, but yeah, definitely, um, yeah, other artists, writers, music, and landscape and science, I think, are like the main things at this
Mhm.
point.
Thank you. Thank you. You recently had a solo exhibition in one of the New York gallery.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It was called Overclouded. There were works made in the technique of photography and photo collage.
Mhm.
Have you always worked with technology? With technique. Can you tell us more about the concepts of the exhibition?
Yeah. So yeah, this show, it was up from November until a few weeks ago, and um, the work in the show, some of the techniques that I use, I've been using for a long time. Some of them are new, and the general idea. There's a few ideas behind the show, but one of them is it's a question of how we look at and understand like landscapes and weather, because they're always changing. And I find it very difficult through photography and through other forms of image making. It's very difficult to actually accurately represent a place that when you go there and you experience it, you're having a very different experience than what you can capture from a photograph. And so I'm interested in that as like an interesting problem. It's like, what do I do with that? And this has led me into a bunch of different related investigations. For example, one of the reasons it's so hard to accurately represent a landscape is because the weather is always changing. And so when the weather changes, the landscape changes, and the colors change, the mood changes. And so that got me really interested in weather. And um, so part of the show is sort of investigating the limits of how you can represent something real. And because I'm also interested in science and the science of weather, um, for a long time I've been really fascinated by scientific diagrams and scientific images. And I collect them from different sources, scientists who are studying different, you know, things related to climate change or different like weather maps. And I'm interested in those because they are making observations about the world, and those observations become an image, and that feels somehow similar to me making an observation as an artist and making an image. So I'm basically putting all of these things together, all these different kinds of representations. But when you leave the show, you realize that you didn't actually like learn anything concrete about any of these places. And for me, I'm interested in, you know, how we how we deal with the idea of uncertainty, which is something that every human has to deal with in their own personal lives. But then we also have uncertainty when it comes to climate change and the world more largely. So um, yeah, I try to make my images and my work kind of exist in this space where yeah, you're given a lot of information about something, but you're also not told how to make sense of it. And it's sort of asking people to engage with something and have their own experience and try to be comfortable with this not knowing feeling. And yeah, I'm really interested in what uncertainty means for artists, and then also what it means for scientists, because scientists are trying to understand things. They're
Mhm.
trying to kind of gain more knowledge. But I think artists are interested in maintaining this space of uncertainty. And so it's interesting to just put these things together and um, see how they talk to each other.
Mhm.
So that's the short version of the show.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank,
Thank you.
yeah. Mhm.
What inspired you to create this series of works?
Um, a few different things. One, so there's several different series in the show, and they each have their own story. And I won't go too detailed into each of them because it's so just a lot of information. But I was really interested in exploring, um, yeah, the relationships between images of landscapes that I take, and then scientific images that are also describing some kind of environmental phenomenon. And so I was excited to try out or to use different processes, and to have these different bodies of work kind of in the same room so that they could all talk to each other and
Mhm.
exchange information. And so, there's one series that has no scientific diagrams in it. It's photos of landscapes that I took, and those are the photo collage pieces, and or they're digital collage, and so to have those, and then over here to have pieces with weather maps or graphs in them, and then that they can talk to each other, so that even if you're not thinking about science or weather specifically when you look at this one, because you have this one over here, you have it in your mind to think about it over here. Um so yeah, so each of the different pieces kind of brings a different part of the conversation. um, and yeah, I guess the last thing is that to make these works, I got some grant funding from the school where I teach to do some travel, and there's work from a trip that or like a research trip I took to Barbados, um, where they have a cloud observatory that I visited, and like a white sands in New Mexico, which is like a national park, and a forest research station in Finland, where I've spent a lot of time. And then I also used some pictures that I had taken several years ago in Ecuador. So there's a lot of different things coming together in this show, and it was exciting to have it all in one room.
Different places.
Yes,
Yeah.
many different places. Yeah.
Yeah, super. Which of these works are you most proud of and why?
Um, I think in a way, I mean, I'm proud of all of them in a way because they all represent um, like a different discovery. I think I think where I am right now, the piece that I feel the most excited about is the one with the pictures of clouds. Just because for me, it's combining different kinds of images in a way that was like a new discovery for me last year. The other pieces were, yeah, the larger pieces, that's a process I've been refining and working with for a long time. And yeah, so I think I mean I'm proud of all of it. I'm trying to be very equal. I'm proud of all of it, but I think in terms of the one that I feel like is giving me the most sort of energy for moving forward, I think it's the one with the clouds in it.
Okay. What's the story behind specific painting or object?
So that particular one, that was from when I went on this research trip to Barbados to the Cloud Observatory,
Mhm.
and I, at this observatory, they have all these different pieces of equipment that are monitoring what's going on in the sky. And there's one piece of equipment that's really amazing, and it's basically like a green laser beam that they shoot up to the sky, and then it bounces off things and comes back down, and that helps them understand the contents of the atmosphere, the clouds, the processes. Um, and so I was there, and I was taking photos of clouds with my own camera, just like
Mhm.
regular pictures. And then later on, I went and got on their website where they have all their data that's available, and I found the images taken by this or made from this laser thing from the same days that I was there. And so I took those images, and I used those in the same piece alongside the pictures of clouds that I took myself. And then there's some digital painting involved. So it's kind of collaging these different elements together. And then there's some digital painting that I made in Photoshop. And um, yeah, it's the second piece that I made like that. I made a much larger one that was on fabric for a show I did in the summer. But yeah, this was the first kind of just wall piece, or just a piece for the wall that I made in this process. And so it was challenging to figure out how to do it in a way that felt right to me. But yeah, in the end, happy with it. That's the story
Okay.
for that piece.
Yeah, I very like watch the clouded and change their nature. Very like
Hmm. Yeah,
super.
me too.
What do you want the view to feel or understand when looking at your works and your pictures?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I want viewers to feel that they're looking at something that they recognize, but that there's something different about it than what they expect it to be. So, you might be looking at a picture of a plant, and you can say, "Oh, this is a plant." But there's something about this plant that's different. It's like asking my brain to do something different when I look at it. Um, so really it's about making familiar things more abstract or less familiar, um, to hopefully get people to sort of I don't know, to think about their relationship to what they see, and what they think that they know. um, and yeah, I also hope that people, um, yeah, think about, with photographic images and scientific images, that there's a lot of different ways to look at the world, and they all contain a lot of information, but they also leave out a lot of information. And so, everything that we are given is telling us something, but it's also limited in what it can tell us. And so I think if there's two simple things that, um, yeah, that's what I hope people are getting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, my
Today,
pleasure.
today was a first conversation with artist, and thank you very much.
Yes.
And see you later, maybe
Yes, definitely.
offline.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.